This Friday at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, a wreath will be placed at the Space Mirror Memorial to honor members of the NASA family who lost their lives while furthering the cause of exploration and discovery. While there were losses in both the United States and in the former Soviet Union, both on the ground and during flight, our thoughts this week turn to the crews of Apollo 1, Challenger, and Columbia. On January 27, 1967, Apollo 1 astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were aboard their Saturn 1B rocket for a pre-launch test when a fatal fire broke out. After a thorough investigation, major design changes were made to the Apollo spacecraft, enabling 2 Americans to land on the Moon and return to the Earth just 2.5 years later. Commander Grissom once said, "If we die, we want people to accept it. We're in a risky business, and we hope that if anything happens to us, it will not delay the program. The conquest of space is worth the risk of life." On the morning of January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger was on the launch pad, ready for her 10th flight into space. The mission, designated 51L, was the 25th of the shuttle program. Challenger's crew included Dick Scobie, Michael Smith, Judith Resnick, Ellison Onizuka, Ronald McNair, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAuliffe. Challenger broke apart just 73 seconds after liftoff, taking the lives of all 7 crew members. That night, President Ronald Reagan spoke to the nation. "The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them." Shortly afterward, the families of the Challenger crew decided to create Challenger Center for Space Science Education as a living memorial to their loved ones. Today there is a growing international network of nearly 50 Challenger Learning Centers where thousands of students fly simulated missions to space each week. They are led on these journeys by more than 300 dedicated staff and volunteers. One of our Challenger Learning Center alumni is Meg Mian, who first visited the Bueller Challenger and Science Center in Paramus, New Jersey, in the 5th grade. Meg's first exposure to spacecraft engineering was installing the parts and wires as a member of the probe team. Today, Meg is an aerospace engineer. She was a mechanical systems engineer for the recent STS-125 mission, the 5th and final flight to service the Hubble Space Telescope. The lessons learned, and more importantly, the inspiration provided, has been truly invaluable and is something I've carried along with me over the years, literally from the probe team to mission control, and I'm confident that without it, I wouldn't be where I am today, said Meg. In late 2009, the Columbia Memorial Space Science Center opened in Downey, California. It includes a Challenger Learning Center, honoring both the crew of Challenger as well as Columbia. Columbia was the first space shuttle to fly in 1981, and STS-107 was its 28th mission. Columbia and her 7-person crew launched on January 16, 2003, on the multidisciplinary microgravity and Earth science research mission. Columbia was just 16 minutes from landing on the morning of February 1, 2003, when Mission Control lost contact with the shuttle. A piece of foam, falling from the external tank during launch, had opened a hole in one of the shuttle's wings, leading to the breakup of the orbiter during re-entry. Columbia's international crew included Rick Husband, William McCool, Michael Anderson, Laurel Clark, David Brown, Kalpana Chawla, and Ilan Ramon. On that Saturday when Columbia was lost, President George W. Bush spoke to the nation, reassuring us that the cause in which they died will continue. Mankind is led into the darkness beyond our world by the inspiration of discovery and the longing to understand. Our journey into space will go on. This March, Japanese astronaut Naoko Yamazaki will launch to the International Space Station on board the Space Shuttle Discovery. Naoko was 16 years old when the Space Shuttle Challenger and her crew were lost. Hearing the story of teacher Krista McAuliffe, she was inspired to become an astronaut. Poet Carl Sandburg said, "Nothing happens unless first a dream." This week, we hope you have the opportunity to visit a Challenger Learning Center, where the dream is alive in each and every student. One day in the not-too-distant future, a man or woman will no doubt recall that they were inspired to be an astronaut when they visited a Challenger Learning Center. This is Rob Cork for Challenger Center for Space Science Education.